House. Thank you.
I call the honourable member Andrew Little.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. It's a great pleasure to speak to the Taxation, Annual Rates, Foreign Superannuation and Remedial Matters Bill. Not a bill that I followed through the House in great detail, nor did I participate in the Select Committee deliberations on it, and I really only had one minor contribution to make in the committee stages of the House. But it's a bill that I feel a great deal of affection for, because I think it illustrates one of the distinguishing features between this national government and the opposition, and it is the fact that this bill once again represents a lost opportunity for this government. Now, our colleague Mr Hayes, who's just resumed his seat, said that this is a bill that will assist with economic growth and great bounteous virtue will flow from it, but it will do nothing of the sort. Now, we know that it confirms existing personal income tax rates. Well, that's another lost opportunity, because what this country is desperate for is a more progressive scale of taxation. That opportunity has been lost. The National Party's biggest donors and the biggest income earners in the country, they've had their benefit. They had their benefit within weeks of this government being elected in 2008. And the rest of the country has been paying for it ever since. And will continue to pay for it, because we are now wallowing in an additional $60 billion of debt racked up by this government. This bill is a lost opportunity. The bill also deals with a new regime for taxes for the mining industry. Nothing particularly controversial about that, but the mining industry is not the industry of the future. It is not the industry that in 20, 30, 40, 50 years' time is going to be generating the value that this country needs to sustain its citizens, to provide for the health and the education and the support and the coherent society that we've come to expect in this country. It doesn't. It misses the great opportunity to provide for a capital gains tax. And that is a good form of taxation, because it is about directing investment, incentivising investment away from our preoccupation with property into productive investment. And an R&D and all those other things. And even if how disappointing it is that we don't have accelerated depreciation regime in this tax bill, that could have been put in there too. That would have assisted the wealth creators and the real value creators in this economy. But the truth is, this government is not a government about long-term wealth creation and value addition and lifting the general wealth and harmony of this country. This is a government obsessed about mucking around in the same puddle of water we've been in, frankly, for far too long. More primary production, more mining, more commodity goods to be sold at commodity prices. And the challenge for this country is to make the shift in our economy into totally new productive enterprises, into the new economy, the economy that's going to generate real wealth, the economy that's going to enable incomes to be lifted, the economy that's actually going to see an improvement in productivity, whether it's labour productivity or capital productivity or multi-factor productivity. This bill represents everything wrong in this country, and it represents everything that this government stands for. Do nothing, do the barest minimum, do a bit of sort of window dressing to make it look like you're doing something, but do nothing meaningful that's going to make a long-term difference to New Zealand. Do nothing that's going to inspire some hope and give a bit of inspiration to the young people who are looking around now, teenagers who are looking around saying, where is our place in the future? Where is our place in this country? How are we going to generate incomes? How are we going to sort of make our mark and make our way so that we can provide for ourselves and our next generation? This bill represents a frustration of ambition and of aspiration, the very things that this government claims to have been elected on. This bill represents nothing important or big for New Zealand. And it's very telling that at the heart of this bill, one of the other sort of key elements of this bill is about superannuation and about the tax regime for repatriating superannuation funds from Kiwis or residents who have worked overseas, saved overseas, got superannuation funds overseas, settle back here and want to use those funds. And what that illustrates is one of the real problems of New Zealand, and that is our shallow capital. And we are dependent on funds raised overseas to fund lifestyle and do things over here. That's what this illustrates. This government, because of its inaction, because of its lack of vision, because it does not have a view about where our future wealth is going to be generated from, is presiding over some of the worst inequality in this country. And Paul Goldsmith stands up here and says, "Where's the evidence?" He doesn't see it because he's not interested in it. I mean, when you live in Parnell, you don't see a great deal of inequality because all the $2 to $5 million houses all look the same. But the reality is that there is growing income inequality and asset inequality, because there is a generation of New Zealanders, a generation of young New Zealanders who cannot get into their first house because of the mismanagement of this government. And they know it's going to get worse. They know it's going to get worse when those interest rates start going up next month. They know it's going to get worse. And they are desperate to spin and distract and divert attention and make sure nobody notices the one thing that they've been claiming credit for the last nearly 6 years, that interest rates are low, which has nothing to do with them. It happens to be the result of a worldwide financial crisis that we're still crawling our way out of. Actually, interest rates are going to go up because this is a government that has been borrowing, that has borrowed nearly $60 billion in its time in government, because it's slashed taxes for the wealthiest and it has done nothing to encourage or promote greater wealth generation. That's the crying shame of this government. And the people of New Zealand are waking up to it, and they know it, and they see it, and they are looking around now for alternatives. They've gone off this crowd. They've gone off this crowd because they want better. Working New Zealanders want better for themselves, and they want better for their kids and the next generation. And their kids want better for themselves as well. They want a future in New Zealand. They want to do good stuff. And they want a government that is interested in managing an economy in a balanced way, and asking those who are doing extraordinarily well to contribute a little more, asking those who want to work and invest in themselves to make their contribution, asking those who have a clue about value generation and wealth generation to come forward and be assisted and add to the great things that this great country can do and can do for its people. This bill is a lost opportunity. This bill could have done a lot more. It could have put in place a more progressive personal income tax regime. It could have put in place a capital gains tax. It could have ensured that the once gradual, now rapidly dividing income and asset inequality was actually rectified and addressed. But it does none of that. Now, we are bound to support this bill because it provides the income tax rates, that provides the revenue that Crown needs to carry on doing the bare minimum that it's doing. But it offers no vision, and it offers no hope. And that will be left for the next government to do. A government focused on the next generation of wealth generation, focused on what this country is going to look like in 20 or 30 years' time, a great country, a government focused on the sunlit uplands of a great future with a good economic base, a balanced economic base, and a happy and prosperous people who do well, earn well, make their contribution to each other well, and live to enjoy the benefits.
I call the honourable member David Bennett.